newly authored and co-authored various research papers and is an editor of NMCTH Drug and Therapeutic Newsletter. He has been a visiting faculty for Valley College of Technical Science and Cornell College. He is a board-certified clinical nutritionist for Aspen, American Society of Parenteral Nutrition, and is a antimicrobial steward by MADID. Dr. Anup represents Nepal for Patient Safety Movement and will be moderating this topic. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'd like to welcome you all. So without any delay, I'd like to begin my sessions. For my sessions, I'd like to welcome on the stage our Director General of Department of Drug Administration, Mr. Naryan Prasad Dhakal, sir. So he has been working in the field of regulatory for over 30 years and has been supporting for quality assurance. And he has been working with WHO and different multinationals and international committee as well. Currently, he's working as a Director General for Department of Drug Administration. Similarly, for my panel, I'd like to call upon the stage Mr. Balkrishna Khakurel, ex-Director of Department of Drug Administration. He has also been serving in various institutes like WHO, USAID, NPC, and NPA. And he's a visiting faculty for Institute of Medicines, and his interest is in regulatory affairs, pharmatech, health product, supply chain, and vigilance. Similarly, I would like to call upon the stage the General Manager of Nepal Aushadhi Limited, Mr. Mohammad Shaphiullah. He has been working as a Managing Director, Marketing Manager, Country Manager, for various pharmaceutical company, and he has 22 years of professional experience in domestic and multinational pharmaceutical corporates. Similarly, I would like to call upon my next panelist, Dr. Pramesh Sundar Shrestha, Associate Professor and Intensivist, Triveni University Teaching Hospital. He is a former General Secretary for Nepalese Society of Critical Care Medicines. And as a speaker for this session, I would like to call upon Mr. Santosh KC, Senior Drug Administrator and Spokesperson for DDA. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I'm very much pleased to be here today to present about drug registration procedures and what are the procedures there, what are the hurdles, and what are the problems. So this will be around 15 minutes presentation. Then it will be followed by the discussion. And I'm very much happy here because our senior colleagues, ex-Director General, current Director General, and the other colleagues are here. So this is just the opening for the discussion. So first of all, I'm very much happy to be here because now all the healthcare professionals, we are talking about the patient safety. So not only about the patient outcome, and this is definitely the one of the milestone in the healthcare practices in Nepal. I think this is second or third conference. So this type of a conference definitely is the eye-opener for all the practitioners along with the regulatory authority also. So this is our prime concern also, and balancing the benefit as well as the risks in the therapy is very much crucial. And once we are talking about the patient safety, and definitely this is our proactive role also, Department of Drug Administration. We are always talking about the safety first, and we are also going to going through the key messages, key principle of do not harm also. So that's why I would like to congratulate the organizing committee, and once again I would like to congratulate, let's give a big hand to the organizing committee. So for my presentation, so I will briefly talk about the regulatory provision, what are the provisions there for the registration of the medicine, and also what are the gaps, and finally I will conclude my presentation. So basically by principle, all the medicine need to be registered before placed in the market. Medicine are dispensed only by the qualified personnel. Those are the pharmacists as well as the professionals also. Those are the person who were took the training of the training specified by the Drug Advisory Committee. So currently, after 2058, those type of personnel is not in the dispensing practices. So we are only talking about now the pharmacists as well as the pharmacy assistant who are actively involved in the dispensing of the medicines. And medicine are categorized as a prescriptive as well as a non-prescriptive. So all the prescriptive medicine need to be dispensed against the prescription by the authorized personnel, and only the Schedule Go medicine, that is the Go category, we don't have any OTC type of the list, but those that medicine which are categorized as a Group C, Group Go, is also supposed to be like OTC drugs. So those type of drugs can be dispensed based on the experience of the dispenser. Medicine should be the safe, efficacious, and of the standard quality. This is the main motto of the Drug Act also. So it is clearly specified in the Drug Act, it should be safe first, efficacious, and of the standard quality. Medicine need to be used in the country of origin. This is one of the requirements. So we don't have any procedure for the new drug application. It means that only the medicine which is available in the other part of the country, other part of the world, is only eligible for the registration in Nepal. So there is no any new drug registration procedure here till now. So all the pharmacopoeial medicine are registered based on the specified standard. So medicines are specified in terms of the standard as specified in the different pharmacopoeia. We have recognized different pharmacopoeia, including United States pharmacopoeia, British pharmacopoeia, Indian pharmacopoeia, and other pharmacopoeia also. So for the non-pharmacopoeial and non-standardized new medicine, so it has to be go through the drug evaluation committee of the department, and it is followed to the drug advisory committee, and finally the drug advisory committee recommended for the approval of those type of the medicines. So at the time of the evaluation, we also take the assistance of the physician also at the time when there is requirement, and we also continually communicate with the different society in which the drugs belongs to. And finally, DDA approved the recommendation for the import and the use of the all type of the prescribed medicine based on the prescription. So there is also the provision if there is a prescription for the type of the drug which is not available in the Nepal. So at that time, based on the prescription, we also provide the permission. But here, the management is the sole responsibility of the patient. And there is also the provision of the special permission. So in case where there is any new type of the medicine which is not available in Nepal is required for any institute or for any community or for any type of the prescribers, at that time also we provide the import permission based on the recommendation of the drug and therapeutic committee of that hospital. So here is also a limitation because it is only confined to only that institute. So that is only eligible to dispense or to use in that institute. But those type of the medicine is also required in the other institute also. At that time, that institute also need to take the separate permission for that type of the medicines. So there are the few gaps currently. So as I already mentioned, we have the Drug Act, which is clearly specified about the safety, quality, and the efficacy of the medicine. We have drug policy also, which was enforced in 1995, but it has not been amended or it has not been revised yet. We are working on that also. That also clearly is specified about the availability of the medicines, rational drug use, patient safety, all type of the things is clearly mentioned there. And also we have the different regulation, 4 type of the regulation. We have also codes, good pharmacy practice codes, GMP codes. So those also basically confined to the safety, quality, and the efficacy of the medicines. So there are quite often, and in sometimes, in case of the emergency or in the case of the COVID, or in case of there is a disaster at that time, in most of the time there is quite often, there is a shortage of the critical care medicine as well as the antidotes. This is one of the problem to us. And shortage due to the limited suppliers also. If there is only limited suppliers for certain types of the critical care medicine, it is quite often shortage. So you are also facing that type of the problem also. And sometimes based on the economic values, if that medicine is very cheaper and not in high demand, so at that time, just limiting those type of the medicine because there is no any economic value for the importers. But at the same time, that type of the medicine is very critical, very essential. but that type of the problem also we are facing. So compulsory stockpile has not been imposed. So this is also one of the drawback, because this is the sole responsibility of the importer or the manufacturer to ensure the continuous supply of the medicine at the point of use, at the time of the prescription. But this type of the things, so in other part of the globe, we can see it is the sole responsibility of the manufacturer or the importer to ensure the continuous availability of that medicines. So here is, we don't have any provision. So this is the common practice, that at least for the 6-month stockpile at the level of the importers or the manufacturers, and at the 3 months of the stock at the institution level. So if we maintain this type of the stock, then definitely there will be no issues of the shortage. Government supply only dedicated towards the limited listed essential medicine only. So there is a limited essential medicine, and now after we are practicing this federalism, so at that time different level of the governments are also procuring the medicine based on their needs. So there is no any central issues or no any central database what type of the medicine has been purchased and where it is being available, where it has been distributed. So those type of information is missing. So because of that, in some institution there is a stockpile, in some institution there is a shortage of the medicine also. So government or any other potential agency. So this is also one type of the thought we are thinking on, because the continuous availability of the medicine is very crucial, especially for the critical medicine antidotes. So to ensure that if we can assign any institute, government institute or any other agency like a SASA or any other institute for the stockpile of those type of the antidotes as well as the medicine, this can be some sort of the instrumental to continuous supply of the medicine also. We are just talking on that also, but this has not been implemented, and it has not been come up with some sort of the solution also. No provision of the early notification of the possible shortage of the medicine. This is also one of the drawback. So in other countries, so if there is any shortage due to the shortage of the raw materials, or there is any upgradation of the facility, if there is a future shortage of those type of the medicine, so it has to be properly communicated to the regulators. So this is not compulsory in case of Nepal. So because of this also, there is a shortage of the medicine. Availability may vary on the different geographical areas. In the urban areas, most of the medicine are easily available, but in the rural areas or in the other part, maybe the availability is also critical. So this is also one of the problems. So finally, I would like to conclude here. So availability of the medicine on time is very crucial. So all the stakeholders, including DDA, should work together to make it happen. So thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So talking about my panel, we have a wonderful setup of panel, from manufacturer who formulate the medicines to intensivists and doctors who test or use the medicines on patients, to policymakers who regulate both the manufacturing as well as the use of medicines. So I'd like to welcome all panelists. So I'd like to begin from the hospital. So I'd like to go with Dr. Pramesh Sundar Shrestha. And my question to him is, have you ever been in the situations where you have to go beyond your practice guidelines and treat the patients just because a particular drug was not available, knowing that that drug might harm the patients? So in short, are patients suffering just because the drugs is not available in the market?
The question which has been presented to me. So I'd like to divide into a recent scenario and the usual scenario that we have been facing. The recent scenario that we all know is a COVID. So we've been facing COVID and we've been practicing. Did we have this question in COVID? The answer is yes. So the drug like tocilizumab. Tocilizumab was widely used. It was coming in guideline in the patients in management of severe COVID patient, but it was given only a one-time fixed drug approval. So we had tocilizumab for 3-4 weeks, then we did not have tocilizumab for 3-4 weeks, then again we had tocilizumab for 3-4 weeks. But we had all the COVID patients for all the year long. So what do we do in that gap where we do not have tocilizumab and it was only one-time use, one-time approval? So we had to resort to alternative medicines like maybe bevacizumab, which were not effective. So yes, the patients were suffering. Again, I come to COVID. So there was again this thing about mucormycosis. It was there. We are in tertiary center. So there are a couple of mucormycosis cases. They were referred for us for management of mucormycosis. So did we have liposomal amphotericin B? The answer is no. So what do we do then? We have mucormycosis, but we don't have liposomal amphotericin B. Then we have to resort to amphotericin deoxycholate, which is more toxic. Patient may have more renal impairment, but we do not have choice. So are patients suffering? Yes. And we even did not have amphotericin B, and we had to revert to other antifungals like posaconazole. So we have to go multiple times beyond guidelines. We have to compromise patient safety, and every time the sufferer is the patient. This is just for the COVID. Other examples also I'd like to give, like maybe other thing, like methyl dopa, a very simple drug that is used in PIH. Is it available? Are the patients suffering from PIH only in Baisakh, Jet, Asar? They don't suffer from PIH in Fagun. So we don't have regular methyl dopa supply. Another drug is labetalol. Like we have neuro patients, we have to control their blood pressure. Labetalol is not available. It's occasionally available. And we have to use other antiparenterals to cover the blood pressure. Although we know that they might have lesser side effect profile, they might increase ICP, but we have no choice. So we compromise the safety. Other drug is like anti-seizure medications, which are not regularly available. So we have to treat patients who are in seizure with the anti-seizure drugs that have lesser safety profile. Although we know that we have better medications that have got better safety profile. And finally, as the speaker was talking about, the drugs like antidotes, like there is a opioid poisoning, there is benzodiazepine poisoning, bosma airathyo, thai bhaina suteko, benzodiazepine poisoning. Do we have antidote? No. Why we do not have antidote? Perhaps there is economical value, perhaps those drugs are not marketable, they don't have economical value, but there are a lot of gaps that we know we can do, but we are not being able to do it. And yes, are patients suffering? Definitely yes from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pramesh. So, as a clinical pharmacist, I do have concern over this, because as a clinical pharmacist, when we talk about rationality of medicines, the first questions comes to us was availability of the medicines. So, as said by Dr. Pramesh, sometimes we see a patient on on ARB when the patient is renally compromised. Actually, we need to have labetalol, right? So those are the issues. Now I like to put forward this question to Mr. Mohammad Shaphiullah sir, General Manager of Nepal Aushadhi Limited. So why can't the pharmaceutical company who is undertaking, who is under the government of Nepal, can manufacture these essential medicines like labetalol or like naloxone for benzodiazepine overdose, or some other overdose? And what are your plans to solve this hurdle of patient safety in context of drug availability as a manufacturer of Nepal from the government of Nepal?
Thank you, Dr. Anup. सर्वप्रथम म आयोजकलाई यो कार्यक्रम आयोजकलाई धन्यवाद दिन्छु नेपाल औषधिलाई निमन्त्रण गर्नुभएकोमा। म सिधा प्रश्नको उत्तर तपाईलाई दिएँ र त्यसपछि एक दुईटा विषय छ म सम्बोधन गर्छु। मेडिसिन भनेको इट्स अ ओसन। एउटा विश्वमा कुनै पनि फार्मास्युटिकल अहिलेसम्म सबै औषधि उपलब्ध गराउन सक्ने अवस्था यो छैन र नेपालमा पनि सम्भव छैन। मैले सिधा रेस्पोन्स गरेँ तपाईको क्वेशनलाई। अब कुरा आउँछ बाँकी जुन एसेन्सियल मेडिसिनका छन्, नेपाल औषधिको इतिहास जान्नुभन्दा पहिला मैले एक दुईटा विषय अगाडि राख्छु। नेपालको फार्मास्युटिकल अवस्था हेऱ्यो भने हामी विश्वको फार्मास्युटिकल भन्दा अराउन्ड 300 पछाडि छौँ। 300 वर्ष पछाडि हो मेरो एनालिसिसमा। यहाँ नजिकै हाम्रा छिमेकी मुलुकहरू बङ्गलादेश, इन्डिया, पाकिस्तान, यिनीहरूभन्दा हामी केही नभए 1 दशकभन्दा बढी पछाडि छौँ। र पनि एउटा सराहनीय काम नेपाल औषधिको रहेको देखिन्छ। 1972 सालमा 1972 इस्वी सम्बत भयो। नेपाली विक्रम सम्बत 2029 सालमा स्थापना भएको नेपाल औषधि आउँदाखेरि नै 141 वटा औषधि लिएर आएको थियो। त्यसमा तपाईले भनेका औषधिहरू इसेन्सियल मेडिसिनहरू थिए र यो पोलिसीको कारणले अथवा अपग्रेडेसनका अरू प्रोसेसहरू हुन सक्छन् जसका कारणले नेपाल औषधि आफूलाई त्यो प्रोसेसमा लान सकेन र सडनली WHO को पोलिसी आउँदाखेरि DDAले बाध्य भएर विकासकै क्रममा त्यो पोलिसी यहाँ लागू गर्दा नेपाल औषधि त्यो क्राइटेरिया मिट गर्न नसकेपछि हामीले उत्पादन बन्द गरेको 10 वर्षपछि पुनः सञ्चालनमा आएका छौँ। अहिले अब एउटा यही कम्पेयर गर्दाखेरि हामीले एउटा के देख्छौँ भने क्युबा अमेरिकाको एउटा एक्जाम्पल बनेको छ अहिले औषधिमा, जुन 1982 मा आएको, हामीभन्दा 10 वर्ष पछाडि। अब 10 वर्ष पछाडि आउँदा पनि उसले के गर्यो भने मोर देन 50 कन्ट्रीमा अहिले एक्सपोर्ट गरिरहेछ। देशको 60% औषधिलाई, मैले 60% भने किनभने अल मेडिसिन क्यानट बी सप्लाइड बाई अ सिंगल फार्मास्युटिकल एनीवेयर इन द वर्ल्ड। त्यति डेभलप भएको फार्मास्युटिकलले पनि आफ्नो देशको 60% औषधिलाई मात्र धान्न सकेको छ र आर्थिक रूपले लिने हो भने 20% जति रेभिन्यूलाई सपोर्ट गरेको छ। हाम्रो अवस्था के, उनीहरू अगाडि बढ्दै गए, हामी पछाडि बढ्दै गयौँ र पनि अहिलेको अवस्थामा आउँदाखेरि नेपाल औषधि 10 वर्ष पछाडि फेरि आफ्नो यात्रा सुरु गरेको छ र हामी अहिले कोभिडमा 4वटा औषधि भए पनि सराहनीय भूमिका नेपाल औषधिले खेलेको देखिन्छ। प्राइभेट सेक्टरबाट कुनै पनि संस्थाले पारासिटामोलको अनएक्सपेक्टेड रेट बढेको बेलामा नेपाल औषधिले बाहेक धेरै लिमिटेड संस्थाहरू छन् जसले सिटामोल दिन सक्षम भएका छन्, तर नेपाल औषधि आफ्नो दायित्वमा रहेर आफ्नो क्षमताअनुसार औषधिहरू दिएका छन्। अब आगामी दिनहरूमा हाम्रा योजनाहरू छ, क्रमबद्धमा हामी यसलाई एक्लै नेपाल औषधिले पक्कै पनि धान्न सक्ने अवस्था छैन, अगाडि जान सक्ने अवस्था छैन, तर अहिलेको अवस्थामा उद्योग मन्त्रालय, स्वास्थ्य मन्त्रालय, औषधि व्यवस्था विभाग र हाम्रा विज्ञहरू जति छन् सबैको पूर्ण सहयोग पाइएको छ र संस्था आफ्नो प्लानिङ योजनालाई पुनः कमसेकम केही नभए 141वटा इसेन्सियल मेडिसिन सहितका जुन उत्पादन छन् यसलाई हामीले 2 वर्षभित्रमा पुरा गरी स्मल र लार्ज भोल्युम प्यारेन्टल सहितको एउटा खाका हामीले सरकार समक्ष पेश गरेका छौँ। यदि त्यो हुन्छ भने मलाई लाग्छ इसेन्सियल मेडिसिनको समस्यालाई हामीले सम्बोधन गर्न सक्ने अवस्था चाहिँ छ। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, sir. Indeed, everyone knows cetamol, the one of the few paracetamol in the market who actually lowers the fevers compared to others. So I believe in the coming days, Nepal Aushadhi Limited will give us the product like labetalol, adrenaline, noradrenaline, all the products that are essentials for the patients, especially those products which are really essential for the patients. So, so after this, I'd like to move to Mr. Balkrishna Khakurel, sir, ex-Director General of DDA. So, sir, as an ex-Director of DDA, do you feel that some issues have been incomplete or not properly addressed with regards to drug approval process and supply chain management during your tenure?
Okay. Thank you, Anup, for the questions. Good afternoon, everybody. Congratulations to the organizer for bringing this very, very important topic in the forefront of the health sector. Also, I'd like to thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity. So, while I was Director General there, so it's easy to say what I did, than what I didn't do. So we try to do everything. So our colleague, all of us, so we were there during that time also. So we try to do and address a lot of things with regard to the shortage and regulatory hurdle. We try to address those regulatory hurdles. As a part of it, we try to do computerization of the things. But then there are certain things which we missed and still we are missing. That is the shortage that Santosh has brought up. So shortage is one thing which is very, very severe from the point of view of the patient care or patient safety. Whenever there is safety, the players in the market, they take a benefit of it out of the patient's cost. So this has to be addressed. This has to be addressed as early as possible. So one of the ways that I would like to suggest is sourcing. we need to be proactive, as Santosh ji has also given some indication that there has to be certain organization who will be doing this job, but they're not. I think the regulators, globally, regulators used to do sourcing. Sourcing means what we need. Currently, we remain passive. We are not active, we are passive. So whatever they bring, whatever the applicants bring, so we tend to evaluate and register, but rather than doing this, this way, the health products are being dumped in the market. Dumping of the health market, in the products in the market means that patients are at risk. So unnecessary things are also being exposed to the patient. So that way, if we can do sourcing based on what we need, what is the shortage, we identify essential drug, we identify life-saving drugs and all those things, but then we do not do the mapping. We need to do mapping. We need to see what is available in the market, what we are manufacturing, and what we are not manufacturing, and globally we can look at who are producing or who are the suppliers. So sometimes, because of our small volume, scale, so sometimes we may not get what we are looking for, but then the regulators can keep on a balance. So whenever the applicants come for the registration or come for the application for the evaluation and registration, so they can depending on the manufacturer's activity, what they are producing, they can explore. What about this one? So sometimes some of the things that I did at that time is one of the Nepalese company, so who was basically limited on oral and the external things. So we persuaded him to come to injectables, and they did injectables, including narcotic things. So that way there was an acute shortage of the narcotics. So that way we were able to address this thing. So sourcing, by doing sourcing, we can eliminate dumping. So by eliminating dumping, so we can ensure patient safety in a way, means that so far as health product is concerned. So the other thing that we should be addressing is the access of regulatory decisions or information. So whenever we do give access to stakeholder of the regulatory decisions, for example, who are the players, who are the manufacturers, what are the products that have been available or that have been in the market. We do registration, but then the supplier would not bring it. As Santosh ji has said, we don't have a scale, so we are not benefiting from this. So no, this is not a question. Sometimes we can persuade them that you need to do this out of the commitment as a social responsibility. You need to bring certain things, though they are not profitable, but still you should be bringing those things. So that way, if we give regulatory information on the net or if we make it accessible, so that way also people come to know what is there legally, and then what are the chances, what are the gaps, and where these players in the markets who do illegal outlets. There are so many illegal outlets. You can take example of during COVID time. So counterfeit remdesivir was sold. So there are people who, everybody was selling remdesivir. So that sort of thing would not be there. So if we proactively disseminate information, regulatory decisions, so who are the registered manufacturers, who are the registered wholesalers, importer, what are the products that have been registered, so that way you can empower the these days, a lot of hospitals have hospital pharmacies. So hospital pharmacy can look at it and what are the gaps. So they can point out. So they can bring this thing to the attention of the DDA, and DDA can do sourcing. So I think this is one of the dimensions that direction that DDA can take is now, which I missed, is sourcing. So if they start doing sourcing that way. The other thing, so far as, because this morning session, earlier session, Dr. Sahabs all were focused on the procedures. So now we should be talking about the health products also. So health products are also one-tenth of the disease, you know. So drugs or health products can also cause morbidity and mortality. So we should be addressing, we should be given equal emphasis to health products also. So in that respect, one-tenth of the people are morbid or they go for mortality because the procedures are wrong, or that is omission, or that is error. So similarly, one-tenth are also because of the health products also. So if we report vigilance, for example, pharmacovigilance or hemovigilance or AEFI or devices vigilance. So if we report about the product, so that way you are reporting product which is being exposed to patients immediately immediately the patient is taking those products and you are reporting on those things. So by bringing those things to the attention of the regulators, so what may happen is they will be testing. They will be testing the things. So that way, by testing the thing, you are talking about the adverse effect, but then you will be detecting the counterfeiting things also, the substandard and the falsified medicines also, poor quality product also. So that way, by doing one job of reporting adverse effect, you can detect the poor quality medicines also. So you can handle those things together. So for this reason, so we should be working together. So it's a healthcare team job. So in a hospital setup, there are multidisciplinary people. So if we start working together as a team, so we'll be doing our respective jobs. By doing that, we ensure patient safety.
Thank you, sir.
So from health product point of view and also from the practice point of view. So I would like to give emphasis to this thing. So another dimension that I just a second is the risk-based assessment. That also I would like to draw attention of the DDS, though they are doing it in a small scale because of the capacity and all those things, because in the morning there was concern of six areas of the patient safety. So in that, organizational capacity, manpower capacity, training, and all those things also come. So, but then risk-based testing of the health product is also equally important. So you do risk-based. So out of the 10,000 health products, so you can sample. You can take sample, risk-based sample, and you can take sample and get it tested in the laboratory. So by doing that also, so you can know so what went wrong in the market. So from their point of view also, you can ensure patient safety. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So since we are running out of time, I'd like to move quickly to Mr. Naryan Dhakal, Sir Director General of DDA. So my questions to him is, what are the barriers and plans of DDA to fill the gaps of drug approval process and supply chain management as stated by Santosh KC, sir, before?
Yeah, thank you, Anupji. I would like to thank these organizers and congratulate for organizing this wonderful event today and inviting me to be a part of it. I think many of the issues have been covered from my previous speakers. At this point, I think I go to very rightly to your question. What are the barriers? If you look into the barriers, I'm more talking about patient safety in terms of not only availability, but also quality and efficacious medicines availability. So we have to think in that perspective. Shortage issues have been covered somehow already. But I look into this whole situation. There are some barriers like which are related to the legal requirements. And some of the points Santoshji also mentioned and my predecessor also mentioned that. We have legal framework and we have some lacking in the legal framework also. That might be, that is also causing shortage as well as ensuring efficacious medicines availability, like controlling of substandard falsified or evidence-based medicines, decision-making of product. All these things we need to have some certain legal requirements in place. For example, I will mention that we have a pharmacovigilance, national pharmacovigilance program, but our drug law doesn't speak about these requirements. That is actually compulsorily followed by stakeholders. For example, the sponsor companies. They don't need to compulsorily submit their drug safety data or adverse events reporting all these things. But legal framework has to be in place in order to really make compulsory this thing and then save the patient. And then second thing is we have a lacking, second area of concern or barrier is the competency. Competency is basically based on incompetency as well as out competency. For example, hospital and those people who are involving in prescription, involving in handling of medicines, do they have adequate competency? This area also very much felt in order to ensure quality or safety to the patient. Why I am saying is this, for example, if I say the competency to evaluate the dossier, this might be the part of the registration requirement, registration department has to look. And whether the competency to actually study the safety, of monitor the product safety issues in the market, like in academia, in hospitals, whether we have a suitable, competent people working in that area or not. That also plays a big role. And third thing is definitely registration regulation and evaluation competency, as I mentioned. This part also causing some sort of safety issues. And another thing is surveillance. I think some of the part is covered now. Safety surveillance is very weak. I think Balkrishna sir also mentioned, we have to have a concerted effort to surveil, the safety issues of the product. Whether we are linked, we have a very, I would say that it's like a primitive type of connection between the regulatory and hospitals or clinicians or academia. There is not any environment we have been able to really create. This is also a big hurdle for us. We have a PB program. We have some regional PB centers. But what is the situation of reporting? As Santosh was mentioning, we have a pathway to allow medicines on the basis of recommendation of clinicians, but whether they are reporting back about the output of what you call that, result of the patient, drug, whether it is really treating or causing more problem. It is not actually linked. So surveillance system is not in really good form now. That is also a big barrier. If we look into the further, if you go dig down into that, we mentioned before, in order to avail quality medicine, that's okay. But if there is no economy of scale, who is going to really supply? The supplier is not interested. Manufacturer is not interested. So they will leave. Then government has to take the charge. In that case, I am more concerned whether the government should take lead of those shortage medicine, critical care medicine. I think I would say yes, government has to have, or certain organizations should be in place within the ministry so that that organization looks after these shortage type of only medicines. All other medicine where there is a economy of scale available, everybody can manufacture and supply, and that they will be available very much easily. But in those type of product, it's very difficult for them, and we are not been able to really address that. Maybe we can make compulsory to manufacture certain products, as Balkrishna sir says, okay, we are doing that currently, but one batch of phenobarbital injection will be okay for a whole year, And some of the clinicians would complain, this this is not working well. I need the other one, other brand. So these are the choices differences also. So really, there are intricacies inside. We have to look into that also. So there are hurdles or barriers because of economy of scale. And as I mentioned that, we have to focus on what you call a good collaborative environment, collaborative systems. So we are I'm requesting all stakeholders, please give us your experts, interest to be part of the regulation. I'm mentioning that once again because we have been openly announcing anyone expert in this area to select a certain type of new medicines. If they are really needed, they can come to us, they can sit with us, we can discuss on that, we can allow them. We have a pathway for that also. Unfortunately, as Shaphiullah said, one single company cannot solve all type of medicines. We have to source from different manufacturers because of their specialty. So this is, in a way, very complex market as such. But that is the government duty to keep people safe. And we understand that. We always say that patients are waiting. So we have to provide them medicine in time. and with quality required. So department is focusing, as I mentioned, those hurdles to really give away those hurdles and solve the problem. For example, we need to have a legal framework in place, so we are working on that. We need to have a structural strength or capability, so we are working on training people, changing the organogram of the department, and we are also requesting, we have developed the critical care medicines list that has been forwarded for approval. It is being under process now at this point of time. Similarly, we have also announced export group to see their interest to department to work together to really facilitate these shortage issues, and also new molecule issue, because new molecules are coming every day, every time the clinicians are switching over to new type of therapies. So we have to be at par with that. So we are working on that also. So I request in this occasion also to just apply for that. And we are also working to really strengthen the domestic manufacturing side, for example, Nepal Drug Limited, to really come up as a suitable government agency to address some of the product. Definitely this only company cannot solve all this, but we are working on that also. So these are the few points I just wanted to share with you, as you mentioned about the questions.
Thank you, sir.
But I could not cover all the questions because it's a very complex and big issue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your commitment and for sharing your plans with us. I hope DDA will certainly solve this issue in days to come. So since we are running out of time, so I like to have questions if there are any. Thank you, sir.
मेरो क्वेसन नमिल्न पनि सक्छ डिडिएले दबाई मात्रै हेर्नुहुन्छ कि तपाईँले अरू हेल्थ प्रोडक्ट्सलाई पनि तपाईँले यसको रेजिस्ट्रेसन हेर्नुहुन्छ किन यो एकदम महत्त्वपूर्ण छ मका हरेक दिन एउटा नयाँ सुजर कम्पनी आउँछ ल सुजर चलाइदिनु पर्यो अब म के भन्छु भने मार्केटमा अलरेडी एस्टाब्लिस 15-16 वटा सुजर कम्पनी छ अर्को सुजर कम्पनीको के जरुरत तर मलाई चाहिने वुन्ड म्यानेजमेन्टको जुन टुल्सहरू हुन्छ जुन अहिले दुनियाँमा राम्रो राम्रो वुन्ड म्यानेजमेन्टको टुल एउटा पनि पाइँदैन सोद्धाखेरि खोइ हामीलाई त थाहा नै छैन त्यो पनि रेगुलेसन हुनु पर्यो नम्बर 1 नम्बर 2 आयो हजुरको अघि नै खकुरेल सरले कति राम्रोसँग कुरा गर्नु भने पेसेन्ट सेफ्टी डाक्टर मात्रै होइन या पेसेन्ट के डाक्टरले गर्ने अपरेसन या ट्रिटमेन्ट मात्रै होइन म एउटा सानो उदाहरण दिन्छु जुन मोनिटर हुन्छ पेसेन्टको मोनिटर त्यो चाइनाको लासा बजारबाट ल्याइन्छ त्यसले साँच्चैकै पल्स अक्सिमिटर राम्रोसँग देखाएको छ कि छैन पल्स रेट के देखाएको छ छैन बिरामीको एक्सिडेन्ट परेको छ यो मेरो लाइफको एक्चुअल इन्सिडेन्ट हो त्यो मसिनलाई कसले रेगुलेट गर्ने त्यो मसिन ठिक छ कि छैन भने कसले हेरिदिने र लास्टमा मेरो प्रश्न त्यो व्यापारीहरू जसले यी दबाईहरू ल्याउँछन् जसले यी सामान के उनीहरूको दायित्व छैन भोलि यो चेन अफ सप्लाईमा उनीहरूलाई हामीले पनि त प्रश्न गर्न सक्नु पर्यो खालि पैसा मात्रै ठुलो कुरो हो त भनेपछि जुन अघि डाक्टर प्रमेशले भन्नुभयो हालसालै मेरै एकजना साथीलाई पर्यो उहाँले चाहिँ कार्डियक स्टेन्ट एउटा माग्नुभयो कार्डियक स्टेन्ट माग्दा माग्दै त्यो स्टेन्टले काम गरेन उहाँले सप्लायरलाई के भन्नुभयो भने मलाई अर्को स्टेन्ट दे भन्दा उहाँले के भनिदिनु भयो छैन डाक्टर साहब काठमाडौँमा स्टेन्टै छैन अब के त्यो डाक्टरको मात्रै दोष भनेपछि त्यो कम्पनी जसले ल्याउँछ फार्मास्युटिकल कम्पनी उनीहरूको उत्तरदायित्व होइन कि हामीलाई केही न केही उनीहरूले पनि त एउटा आश्वासन दिन सक्नु पर्यो उहाँहरूको त ठुलो एसोसिएसन छ उहाँहरूको बलियो एसोसिएसन छ भनेपछि मैले देखेँ यहाँ 3टा जल्दो कुरा आउँछ हजुरहरूप्रति ड्रग कमिटीपट्टि कि एउटा चाहिँ जुन एपराटस हामीले युज गरिरहेको छौँ एउटा सर्जनको नाताले मैले युज गर्ने मेसदेखि सुचरदेखि प्रोस्थेसिसहरूदेखि क्लिप्सहरूदेखि यसको डिडिएको के छ नम्बर 1 नम्बर 2 जो चाहिने सामानहरू त्यो आइरहेको छैन र नम्बर 3 चेन अफ सप्लाईमा जहिले पनि हामीले खाँचो देख्छौँ त्यसमा हामीले गएर हजुरहरूलाई मात्रै हल्ला गरेर भएन जसले चेन गर्नुभयो उनीहरू पनि एउटा रिस्पोन्सिबल नागरिक भएर देशप्रति उनीहरूले पनि दायित्व चाहिँ देखाउनुपर्छ थ्याङ्क यू
डाक्टर ढकालको चाहिँ क्वेसन मैले सुरुमै सल्भ गरेको छु भनेको छु तर त्यो चाहिँ नि हिडन भयो Department is not actually regulating those device and equipments you mentioned, but having felt the requirement of regulation, we are working on to revise current law. As I mentioned, legal requirements were the hurdle, barrier, I mentioned earlier also. Because of that hurdle, we could not start regulating those. We have a directive, but that directive could not provide us the structure to regulate, and also power to actually act against those perpetrators also. So that was very insufficient in that term. So we wanted to review the current drug law and increase the scope of regulation. So that was the very requirement, so we are working on that. We really felt we are together with you in that sense. Whatever you sense, that is true. And it is felt at the ministry also. Policymakers are aware of that. It has to be regulated. So we are working on that. Thank you. I think that could that is sufficient.
म अलिकति मात्रै थपेँ डाक्टर साहबले अब अज्ञानी भन्नुहुन्छ धेरै ज्ञानी मान्छे हो अब भनौँ न सबैको तर्फबाट भनौँ न हामी सबैको तर्फबाट उहाँले भेन्टिलेट गरिरहनु भएको छ सो ही नोज द सब्जेक्ट एन्ड ही डिजर्भ टु बी टकिङ द्याट वे सो मलाई के लाग्छ भने अब यो जुन रिपोर्टिङ बिहानदेखि हामी भनिरहेका छौँ report, just report. One of the resolution of this conference is that report. That's why जति पनि अहिले कुराहरू भनिरहनु भएको छ, let that be a part of the system, reporting system. Reporting system गरौँ न, shortage को reporting गरौँ, adverse effect को चाहे कुनै पनि चीजबाट भएको, चाहे त्यो स्ट्यान्डबाट भएको होस्, चाहे त्यो प्रोसेसबाट भएको, केहीबाट भएको छ भने just report and report. त्यो रिपोर्ट अनि दोस्रो चाहिँ अब के छ भने अब डीडीएले रेगुलेटरी मेकानिजमको कुरा गर्दाखेरि त्यहाँ एउटा यो ड्रग लजमा चाहिँ ड्रग एडभाइजरी कमिटी भनेर चाहिँ सचिवको अध्यक्षतामा हुने गरेको छ त्यो चाहिँ अलमोस्ट भनौँ न अब मैले नसकेको कुरा है अब एक दुईचोटि त बैठक बसाउँछौँ वर्षमा तर चाहिँ पुग्दैन त्यतिले उनीहरू कमसेकम अब त्रैमासिक रूपले नभए पनि मन्थली बस्नुपर्ने अवस्था छ यो जुन पटकेको कल्चर विकास भएर गएको छ हाम्रो साथीहरू त आधी समय त अख्तियारको बयानमा मात्रै जानुहुन्छ कतिखेर बसेर काम गर्ने त्यसकारण चाहिँ त्यो पटके सिस्टमको सट्टा त्यो औषधि सल्लाहकार समिति भनेर ड्रग एडभाइजरी जुन कमिटी छ सचिवको अध्यक्षतामा त्यसलाई रिअर्गनाइज गरिकन अलिकति ज्ञानी मान्छेहरूलाई राखेर त्यसलाई रिअर्गनाइज गर्नुपर्छ जुन चाहिँ त्यो रेगुलेसन हो गभर्नमेन्टले गर्न सक्छ क्याबिनेटले गर्न सक्छ त्यसलाई प्रायोरिटी गरेर त्यसलाई फङ्सनलाइज गर्यो भनेदेखि हामी यो धेरै पार्टहरू चाहिँ सल्भ गर्न सक्छौँ त्यो सबै चाहिँ यो डिभाइसेसहरू पनि प्लस यो सर्जिकल सामानहरू युटिलिटिजहरू त्यसलाई पनि रेगुलेसनको फोल्डमा ल्याउन सक्छौँ जब डिडिएले चाहिँ इसेन्सियल ड्रग लिस्ट निकाल्न सक्छ भनेदेखि त्यो इसेन्सियल ड्रग चाहिँ देशभित्र उपलब्ध चाहे कुनै पनि स्रोतबाट होस् देशभित्र बनाउँछ अथवा बाहिरबाट ल्याउँछ त्यो पनि डिडिएको दायित्व हुनुपर्छ त्यो हुनुपर्छ र सबैजनाले त्यसमा बोल्नुपर्छ त्यसैले अत्यावश्यक औषधि सूचीमा परेका लाइफ सेभिङ औषधिको सूचीमा परेका चिजहरू वेदर इट इज मेडिकल प्रोडक्ट वेदर इट इज बायोलोजिकल वेदर इट इज हेल्थ अदर हेल्थ प्रोडक्ट अर डिभाइसेस सो द्याट हेज टु कम अन्डर द फोल्ड अफ द रेगुलेटरी मेकानिजम त्यो गर्ने रिपोर्ट गर्ने र चाहिँ सोर्सिङ डिडिएले सोर्सिङ गर्नुपर्छ तिमीले यो त बनाउन आयो जम्मैले उही चिज बनाएको छ सबले कमिसन खाएर त्यो जम्मै खालि लोनबाट बाँचिरहेका छन् त्यो ब्याङ्कको पैसाबाट बाँचिरहेका छन् धराशयी छन् तिनीहरू अनि किनभने पैसा त सबै लगेर बजारमा लुटाइरहेका छन् जिएमपी छैन अनि मार्केट छैन सबैले त्यही चिज बनाउँछन् कम्पिटिसन छैन कट थ्रोट कम्पिटिसन छ डिल बोनस गरेका छन् पेसेन्टलाई जबरजस्ती औषधि खुवाउँछ व्यापारीले पनि खुवाउँछ हेल्थ वर्करले पनि खुवाउँछ जबरजस्ती खुवाएर बिरामीलाई मारिरहेका छन् यो कल्चरबाट हामीहरू निस्किनुपर्छ यो आजको कन्फरेन्सको एउटा चाहिँ मेसेज यो पनि जाओस् कि भनेर म चाहिँ रिक्वेस्ट गर्छु
Thank you, sir. So since we are already out of time, I would like to end this session and I would like to thank all my panelists for being here.
Excuse me. We do have one more question from the audience.
Thank you. मेरो नाम चाहिँ डट दिप्तेश अरियाल हो म इन्टेन्सिभिस्ट हो मैले खालि एउटा कुरा चाहिँ यहाँ सोध्न खोजेको अहिले जुन रिपोर्टिङ गर्ने भन्ने कुरा उठिरहेछ कि म त अज्ञानी नै हो म अनि त्यसमा होइन कि प्लेटफर्म कहाँ छ त जस्तै मैले धेरै हस्पिटलमा काम गरेँ हेल्थ केयर वर्करहरूले कति ठाउँमा चाहिँ भलिन्टरीली रिपोर्ट गर्ने सिस्टमहरू डेभलप भइरहेछन् तर डिडिएमा रिपोर्ट गर्नलाई प्लेटफर्म के हो आज मैले नोरेड्रेनालिन चलाएँ अथवा ल्याबिटेलोल चलाएँ यो चाहिँ एडभर्स इफेक्ट पनि अथवा साइड इफेक्ट पनि रिपोर्ट गर्ने कसरी गर्ने त मैले त्यो पनि भनिदिनु पर्यो अब अरूलाई थाहा छ मलाई मात्रै थाहा नभयो के हो
So I would like to take these questions to
हजुरको चाहिँ नि हस्पिटलको नोडा छ एक्ज्याक्टली मैले थोरै अघि मेन्सन गरेको थिएँ फार्माको भिजिलेन्स चाहिँ प्रोग्राम छ र केही रिजनल हस्पिटलहरूको रूपमा चाहिँ रिपोर्टिङ चाहिँ अहिले सदस्यहरू भलुन्टरीली उनीहरू त्यसमा लिङ्क हुनुभएको छ र रिपोर्टिङ गरिराख्नु भएको छ। रिपोर्टिङ फर्म पनि छ, त्यो फर्मेट अनुसार यहाँहरूले चाहिँ रिपोर्ट गर्न सकिने व्यवस्था चाहिँ अहिले पनि छ। मैले अघि नै सुरुमा भनेको थिएँ वी हेभ अ लिमिटेड सर्भेलेन्स सिस्टम वर्किङ। मैले त्यसलाई ब्यारियरको रूपमा प्रस्तुत गरेको थिएँ, हजुरले भने सही हो। तर यहाँ चाहिँ निको हस्पिटल चाहिँ नि यदि इफ यु आर इन्ट्रेस्टेड हामी आफै पनि अरूलाई प्रमोट गर्न चाहन्छौँ, यसमा लिङ्क हो, आउनुहोस् स्वागत गर्छौँ। एउटा कुरा। दोस्रो कुरा के हो भने एकदम सरले चाहिँ रिपोर्टको कुरा ल्याउनु भयो। अघि मैले चाहिँ कतिपय प्रडक्टहरू न्यू मेडिसिन्सहरू हामी बजारमा दिन्छौँ। बजारमा दिँदाखेरि क्लिनिसियनको जिम्मेवारीमा हामी दिने गर्छौँ, जुन चाहिँ फेज 3 ट्रायल अथवा चाहिँ नि विशेषै यहाँ दर्ता नभइसकेको अवस्थाका औषधिहरू। त्यो तर रिपोर्ट चाहिँ नि आजसम्म मैले देख्न पाएको छैन। एज अ डिजी म बोल्दैछु यहाँहरूको अगाडि, धेरै क्लिनिसियनहरू यहाँ हुनुहुन्छ। आर यु रियली रिपोर्टिङ? इफ यु आर आस्किङ फर सम न्यू मेडिसिन वी प्रोभाइडेड यु बट यु नेभर रिपोर्टेड एन्ड यु आर नाउ अगेन आस्किङ यु गिभ मी अनदर मेडिसिन। अब मैले कुन चाहिँ डिसिजनमा आधार भएर म फेरि दिउँ त भन्दा मलाई पनि इभिडेन्स जेनेरेट गर्नलाई त सपोर्ट हुनु पऱ्यो नि त भन्ने कुरा हो। त्यसैले मैले अघि नै मेरो प्रस्तुतिमा भनेको थिएँ एउटा कोलाबोरेसन यहाँ चाहिएको छ। कोलाबोरेसन चाहिएको छ यदि सेफ्टी चाहिँ इन्स्योर गर्ने हो भने, यदि साइन्टिफिक इभिडेन्स चाहिँ जेनेरेट गर्ने हो भने यो चाहिँ नि योसँग जोडिएर आउँछ भन्ने कुरा मेरो रिक्वेस्ट हो। मेरो विचारमा डाक्टर साहबको कुरा चाहिँ एड्रेस भयो होला भन्ने आशा गर्छु म।
मैले कसरी रिपोर्ट गर्ने के मैले चाहिँ बेड साइडबाट चाहिँ सेन्ट्रल रिपोजिटरी छ कि डेटाबेस छ कि कुनै अनलाइन पोर्टल छ कि एप छ कि
यसको लागि चाहिँ छ हामीसँग फार्माको भिजिलेन्स भनेर हस्पिटल्सहरूमा चाहिँ फार्माको भिजिलेन्स सेन्टर भनेर इभन नेपाल मेडिकल कलेजमा पनि छ होइन। त्यहाँ चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ एडभर्स ड्रग रियाक्सन्सहरू कलेक्ट गरेर हामीले चाहिँ बेड साइडबाट कलेक्ट गर्छौँ।
युजरले कसरी रिपोर्ट गरिरहेछन् भन्नु।
सो हामीले चाहिँ त्यो जस्तै नेपाल मेडिकल कलेजको कन्टेक्स्टमा चाहिँ हामीले एडिआर्स केही छ भने चाहिँ हाम्रो एउटा भिजिबेस भनेर एउटा सफ्टवेयर दिनुभएको छ औषधि व्यवस्था विभागबाट। सो त्यो फर्म चाहिँ हामीले त्यो सफ्टवेयरमा हालेर पठाउँछ कि एडिआर कतै रिपोर्ट भयो भने चाहिँ
तिमीका कसरी आउँछ त्यो क्लिनिसियनले तिमीलाई कसरी पठाउँछ भन्ने कुरा के तिमी त बेड साइडमा छ।
हामीले चाहिँ वार्डमा फर्म चाहिँ राख्दैछौँ कि त्यसको लागि एडिआर रिपोर्टिङ फर्म।
पेपर छ,
हजुर हजुर
पेपरमा चाहिँ भलन्टरीली फिल गरेर अनि
हजुर हजुर। तर त्यो हजुर त्यो चाहिँ अनि प्रब्लम चाहिँ के भन्दाखेरि
मैले यत्रो धेरै अस्पतालमा काम गरेको छु है, तर मैले देखाएको छैन साँच्चै अनेस्टली।
आई फुल्ली एग्री विथ यू। हाम्रो पार्टबाट नि यो चाहिँ कमी भएकै हो। तपाईँलाई आएर मैले भन्नुपर्ने थियो। वास्तवमा हाम्रो प्रोग्राम चाहिँ अलिकति विक छ, त्यस कारण मैले यसलाई चाहिँ म स्वीकार्छु। तर तपाईँलाई स्वागत छ, आउनुहोस् होइन। तपाईँको हस्पिटल पनि यसमा जोड्न चाहिँ मिल्छ। वी रियली वेलकम यु।
हजुर विथ दिस आई लाइक इन माई सेसन्स। थ्याङ्क यू।
है त त्यो म एउटा खालि अब देशको होइन बाहिरको भनौँ न, जस्तो चाहिँ युकेमा चाहिँ फर्म 10 भनेर येलो सिट भनेर बिएनएफको पछाडि राखिदिया हुन्छ नि फर्म 10 भनेर चाहिँ म त्यही पढाए हुनाले मैले चाहिँ भनिरहेको त्यो फर्म 10 चाहिँ भोलिन्टियरी हो कि डाक्टर साहबले चाहिँ त्यो अब हस्पिटलले प्रिस्क्राइब गरेको छ। यो सिस्टम चाहिँ पिबी सिस्टम चाहिँ WHO कोलाबोरेटिङ सेन्टरको चाहिँ उपसाला मोनिटरिङ सेन्टर भन्छ, त्यो सब्सक्राइब गरिरहेको छ। सो एनी हस्पिटल क्यान सब्सक्राइब इट। अनि डाक्टर साहबले वार्डमा बसेको ओपिडीमा बसेको जहाँ वेयर एभर यु आर, डाक्टर साहब होस् नर्सिङ होस् एनीबडी वाट एभर दे फिल लाइक दे क्यान फिल इन द्याट फर्म एन्ड कहाँ ड्रप गर्ने हो? फार्मेसीको त्यो ड्रग एन्ड थेरापिटिक कमिटीको मेम्बर सेक्रेटरी कहाँ गर्ने हो कि कहाँ गर्ने हो? मोस्ट लाइकली फार्मेसीमा चाहिँ ड्रप गर्ने व्यवस्था मिलायो अथवा ड्रग एन्ड थेरापिटिक कमिटीको जेनरल सेक्रेटरीसँग त्यहाँ गर्ने भयो भने जस्ट ड्रप इट। किनभने त्यो जान्छ यहाँ डिडिएमा गएर त्यो इन्ट्री हुन्छ। इन्ट्री भइसकेपछि त्यो इट गोज टु द मास बिग ओसन अफ रिपोर्ट सिस्टम त्यो उपसाला मोनिटरिङ सेन्टरको। एन्ड देन दे जेनेरेट द अलर्ट। यदि त्यो चाहिँ कज एन्ड इफेक्ट चाहिँ एसोसिएट हुन सक्ने त्यस्तो केही रहेछ भनेदेखि उनीहरूले दे ब्रिङ आउट द अलर्ट। त्यो अलर्ट चाहिँ WHO त्यो मन्थली अलर्ट हुन्छ नि त्यसमा निस्किन्छ। अनि फेरि उनीहरूले क्वार्टरली चाहिँ ब्लू बुक भनेर निकाल्छ WHO ड्रग इन्फर्मेसन, त्यसमा पब्लिस गर्छ। सो इट्स ए ग्लोबल मेकानिजम। किनभने हाम्रो देशको मात्रै डाटाबेसले त्यो हुँदैन, किन सम अफ दि एडभर्स इफेक्ट आर सो रेयर। सो इन योर लाइफ टाइम यु मे नट पिक अप वान जस्तो चाहिँ क्लोराम्फेनिकोलर भने एग्रानुलोसाइटोसिस. So how many of the doctors in a lifetime they have experienced those egranulocytosis of the bone marrow depression? So हुँदैन एउटा मान्छेको लाइफ टाइममा त्यो नहुन पनि सक्छ. It has to be a version of this reporting. So then this sort of the alert can be generated. So that's just do it. Just do it. किनभने हस्पिटललाई भने कि why don't you subscribe it भने from next day on you will be initiated.
Thank you. Finally, I'd like to end these sessions, and I'd like to thank all my panelists for their valuable presence and their commitment and for their words. Thank you very much.
मैले यो प्रेजेन्टेसनको आजको सानो एउटा कमिटमेन्ट, यदि लिगल बाइन्डिङ छैन भने, इफ someone getting problem for the medicine र गाह्रो छ भने नेपाल औषधिलाई जानकारी गराउनुस्. व्यक्तिगत रूपमा हामीले यस्तो धेरै सहयोग गरेका छौँ. यहाँसम्म कि गङ्गालाललाई कुनै बेलामा 500 भाइल पेनिसिलिन झोलामा बोकेर पनि उपलब्ध गराउने गरेका थियौँ. यदि त्यस्तो समस्या छ भने नेपाल औषधिलाई जानकारी गराउनुस्. विदाउट कुनै प्रफिट, परेको कस्ट जति छ एभाइलेबल गराएर हामी सहयोग गर्न अगाडि बढ्छौँ. धन्यवाद.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all the panelists, moderators and speakers. With this, we would like to close the first session.